Okay, so I watched about 11 minutes of this video. I remember this video that this guy made when he was talking about dimensional theories back when I think I was in middle school. I don't know entirely. I don't remember. But when I saw it, it was interesting to me because what I don't understand is why people don't understand the fact that these dimensional theories and all these other things, they're concepts that break things down in a way to understand them, but none of them are correct. Right? Like what we actually need to understand about this stuff is so minuscule, it's so not important. What we really need to know is later on in his life, from what I saw out this video, right? Like this is the part that I didn't know until today. He had started thinking more about like what the issues are in society and what people fail to do for each other, right? Like things that are just as minuscule as that theory when it comes to solving them, right? Like the way to solve these issues would be so small, so easy, so simple, right? Like he was thinking about cancer and all these different things. And I understand those things, right? Like I thought about them through high school, after middle school, where it's like, yeah, cancer stuff that if we were all being healthy the way we should be, then so many fewer people would suffer from cancer to a point where that's the actual cure for cancer. But the actual reason why we don't do some of those things is not because of us, it's because of like medical industries, medical fields. If they stop having thousands and millions of cancer patients doing chemo and stuff, what are they going to do about that? You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be able to eat and sleep anymore. But the reality of all these things are, if we stop doing some of this business, things like homelessness, all this stuff, it actually wouldn't affect these people at all. Yeah, they wouldn't be millionaires anymore, but since when does life depend on money? Right? Like I would love to get that answer. Like when has life ever depend on money? Because I know the answer, and the answer is never. Like life has never actually depended on money. Every moment where someone's life has depended on a dollar, that's someone forcing another person to depend on a man-made object to get something so that they can then function in whatever way that has nothing to do with the situation within society. And back to what I was talking about with this guy, it got to a point where he was like in mental hospitals. From what the lady said that in the video is his wife. She had put some message where she was talking about like leaving him alone and like he won't come back and all this stuff. Which if that picture on the right is him, that means he did come back. So it was more like trying to defend him, which is more of a, for me, is a dive into how much people actually don't understand about a lot of these dimensional theories and stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like, how could you um understand or look at or have the access to knowing about dimensions, but then when it comes to understanding the reasons why people do things, the terrible things in our society, you can't wrap your head around it. The answer to that is because he was young, you know what I mean? But it's like there's all these different things. There's all these different things that we have issues with in our society that just, if we actually took the time to solve them, like it wouldn't even be something in history. It would just be like, oh wow, people really weren't gonna do that. People really weren't gonna do that. Wow, a good example is Elon Musk and the electrical vehicles. Before Elon Musk, everyone just said, "Oh, it was impossible." People just said, "Oh, it was bad for the environment, etc." And it is bad for the environment to make electrical vehicles, but only if you're still making what you call it, fuel vehicles, gas vehicles at the same time. Because if you're also not manufacturing it, if it's something where people are making it on their own or request orders, or you make a limit, like let's say there's only going to be 1 million electrical cars at a time, and then you're going to take all the electrical cars and recycle them, like that would be the correct way to do electrical vehicles. But like those, like that's just more examples of stuff. That's like three examples of stuff where people just aren't going to do it, right? Like it's just not going to happen. But it was just interesting because it's like you see people do things, say things, and then there's so many more possibilities. But what you have to realize at the end of the day is like we're all dumb. We're all just these dumb people who think that they're greater than the animals, that think they're greater than other people, and then you can't do things that if you were actually greater, you would have known how to do. Or you when you see it happen, you understand like, oh yeah, that should happen. But it's like this, right? Like this is something that if we were to do this as a social experiment, if we were to take, let's say, half the world's people and then say you all get this book that teaches you how to make a calculator, and we're going to give you all the parts to a calculator and the tools to code it up and stuff, right? You have an hour to do this or you're going to die. We're just going to never let you out of this room. It's like, how many of the half of the world's population would die in that place? It's like we have so many accomplishments, so many things that we could be doing, so many things that if people were as smart as you all pretend to be, like that scenario with locking half the world's people up, giving them life or death if they can make a calculator. It's like stuff like that wouldn't be a life or death scenario. It would be like, bruv, we all know how to make a calculator function. Like we've been learning this in school. Right? It's like what I'm trying to get at here is like our societies could run so much smoother, so much better if people were held to actual standards and if people were allowed to do more in a way where it's not just you're doing it because you need to work or you're doing it because you need money, but you're doing it because, well, you want to make this thing, it's available, and you have all the understandings of how to do it. But it's just a lot of things, that when you think about these things at a young age, well, it does mess with your sanity a little bit. Because when you're at that young age, what your pattern of thinking is like, do the right thing, do the thing that would prolong life. But through society, all of that gets worn down, and it becomes, well, money. Well, I got this person trying to beat me up. Oh, I got people that I want them to hear my opinion. So I got money needs to be made. Oh, there's someone being abused next door for no reason at all, and I have to hear it at night. Right? It's like, is all these different reasons brought together why people just don't do some of the things that people could do to improve life on Earth. And the sad thing is, if you did some of those things, a lot of it would go away slowly. And I mean, if you look at society now, the reality is that we're on that course no matter what's said or done. People can become more peaceful in 1,000 years or in 10,000 years. It's sad if it takes 10,000 years. But unless we get wiped out, eventually people are going to look back at the people in the society now and be like, wow, y'all were really going to just let people keep dying of cancer because you can make money of it? Wow. Y'all were really going to keep AIDS around, all these STDs, just because you can make money off the people who pay for the medication? Wow. Y'all had cops out there beating people and y'all kept them in the force just because you still needed a certain number of cops? Wow. Right? You could just go down the list. Like, oh, you guys charged people for living in their houses just because you could. A house is a permanent resource, right? So when you're paying for a house, it's really stupid at the end of the day. Like, it's actually one of the dumbest things you could ever do. Because whether you live in it or not, it's still going to be there. It might not be in good condition. In fact, you living in it keeps it in better condition. So the reality is, unless you're messing up your house, you're adding value to your house, but you still had to pay, right? It's like more than half of the things that people do in society today is just completely insane. And you guys don't understand because, once again, we're all dumb.